Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they getting?
Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that.
All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. I'm joined on one of my screens by Benjamin Powders. It is Sunday night, August 21st. My name is Jake Luke. We are entering the fourth quarter of the Ravens preseason game at the Arizona Cardinals. They are currently up 24-3. Currently also watching the Orioles in the Little League, whatever game this is. Jorge Mateo just hit a base clearing RBI triple or triple RBI hit there. So they are up 5-2 now. Thank God, because I did not want to have to be zeroed in on even just one of these games. I mean, the Ravens are up pretty big here, but how's it going, bud?
Going quite well. Like you said, the Orioles showing out, the Ravens showing out. Ravens up 24-3. It has been the night of the 2022 draft class. We have Mr. Kyle Hamilton making a couple plays, getting involved in some kickoff action too as well. Very tight coverage, it looks like. At times, you're kind of always glimpsing on the TV broadcast, but gets a pass break up in the end zone, trying to play the run, try to throw the old little play action at the goal line at a jumbo from the Cardinals, and he gets his hand on it. Obviously, Tyler Linderbaum, David Ajabo not playing. Fast forward to Travis Jones. He's had 3-4 pressures, gets a walloping on our boy Trace Unitas, who I thought was going to make this a little bit more of a showdown, especially in the first quarter, but the Ravens have kind of prevailed ultimately. So Jones ends up getting a roughing the passer after demolishing him in the end zone. We got Daniel Falele gritting out an injury and a really rough start to look a little bit better here as he's playing some more depth players. Then Pepe Williams has an interception. Tyler Beatty has a touchdown. Jordan Stout has dropped 2 kicks inside the 5-yard line. Not to mention the fact that Mr. Isaiah Likely, the gorilla himself, is just nuking preseason football. The best preseason I've ever seen from a Baltimore Raven. Jeremy Butler, I don't even think was balling this hard.
No, I don't think so.
So it's out of control. He's doing everything. He's aligned in the slot. He's aligned out wide. Saw him kicking out on the weak side on some blocks, doing some nice things. So he just went absolutely Super Saiyan in the first half. Ends up, I think, having like a 5-reception drive capped off with a touchdown, breaking tackles left and right, grabbing footballs off dudes' face masks left and right. So he's just been out of this world so far. But this rookie class is just killing it.
Yeah, starting off with what you started off with there, I think it's really good that Hamilton made that play because he's obviously had his viral moments, viral mistakes in the preseason this year, and then I guess you could say he was responsible for what was almost a touchdown there. I think that might have been the same sequence where he lost his guy behind him in coverage a little bit and they dropped the touchdown. But yeah, I mean, just showing that insane alligator arm, jumping up there and knocking the ball away. That was really good to see. And it paired up well with some of the other nice highlights that he's had in preseason that the lamestream media is not talking about. So, yeah, he's a big story, but definitely Isaiah Likely is the number one story. I mean, like, what else can you really talk about ahead of him as far as the number one story in this game? I think
he was trending. He was number 3 behind House of Targaryen and another reality show. He was trending on Twitter, number 3.
Yeah, which by the way, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves with the recording here, but the result doesn't matter. Ravens are probably going to win, and I think both of us want to try and watch that House of the Dragon before we get to bed here. But yeah, I mean, he went out there like 8 for 100 and a touchdown, and my God, like he was making impressive plays. Like the one where Huntley was scrambling to his left, he hit the little B button there, the Romo, and just threw one up to him. He posterized his guy. He's not just like getting wide open. He's not just, relying on one sort of aspect of his game. It's pretty all around. And the touchdown too was very impressive where it was 3 guys all around him. Great throw by Tyler Huntley, just really threaded the needle there. And he hung on tight, like an NFL type catch there for the touchdown that kind of closed out his action for the night. I think he had a few more catches, but yeah, really, really impressive. There is just no need to play him next week, is there?
No, there really isn't. And we touched on it last week. You can talk about his blocking development, whatever. It's 0.1% of his blocking is going to be a result of him playing next week and getting more snaps. I'm sure they'll play him. I would not like to play him. But at the end of the day, like you said, I think perfectly summed it up. It's been everything. He's been doing it by kind of separating with physicality at the top of routes, also being quick to separate. He has done it after the catch. He has gone up above the rim. So really is truly looking like what Mark Andrews said, that he said he's got some similarities to me when Mark Andrews asked about him. I think he's absolutely shown that. Really hard not to be fired up about him. And again, like we talked about Travis Jones, read an article about Travis Jones. It'd be one thing if, it was just, we never heard a thing about him, and then he had a good preseason game. But it's that he was the most productive receiver, most productive tight end in the last 5 years. He's had 2 top 3 finishes in terms of yards per route run, things like that in college ultimately. Then, as Josh Ross makes yet another play, playing out of his mind for this defense, likely
calling plays right now, by the way.
Kyler Murray is calling plays. I do like that. We're going to veer off 50 different ways, but Kyler Murray calling plays, that's a fun way to make your quarterback stay engaged throughout a preseason game. So maybe it is a little bit more cheeky than sustenance ultimately, but I think it's a fun way to keep him engaged and a good activity to have your young quarterback partake in, so he sees the other side of what's going on into his microphone or his speaker and his helmet and everything like that. So I do like that. But like we said, likely just doing it in every single possible way. Beatty with an incredible blitz pickup on that Anthony Brown touchdown to Riley Webb, who's having a really nice night. A guy that has a bigger frame than imagined. I was kind of looking him up as we're going through here. Not someone I really put much thought into ultimately, but a 6'1", 6'2" guy that runs well and played at the Citadel and is running well tonight. But Beatty had an incredible blitz pickup. He was aligned to the right of Anthony Brown and scans all the way across to find the free rusher that's coming off the left edge and just doesn't panic. That's the thing. It's one thing to ID it and have to cross the quarterback's face. It's another thing to stay chill in that moment and stay neutral and make sure that defender has to go through you and that you don't lean one way or lean the other, and then they can give you a little stutter and just whiff and then goes and hits the quarterback. So overall, just too many rookies balling out to get it all in one thought. It's out of hand here.
Yeah, I guess another one that we can hop in on there is Pepe Williams, who you mentioned that he definitely, profiles really well as a zone guy, and I do get some Tavon Young vibes from him a little bit. I think he's maybe a little bit taller, but he hops in there on that interception. He's obviously a rookie that balled out doing so, but it was nice to see Kyle Fuller get an interception as well. He's a guy who you, I think, aptly pointed out as one of these veterans that can come in that's not going to be super hyper focused and in hyperdrive for the training camp and preseason, but just sort of gears himself up for the regular season, knows what buttons to push to conserve himself, keep those fresh legs, as I like to say. Nice to see Fuller getting in on the action tonight.
It definitely is. As we're watching the game here, still Kyler Murray, who you, I think, put on Twitter, basically just the way he presents himself is about as vanilla as possible, considering how electric of a player he is.
That is 1,000-yard stare season with this guy. It's a total empty vessel. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I have a little bit of problems with the way that he carries himself sometimes. And this is not even as much that as it's just dude, just fucking give me something. What are we doing here? You're so much fun on the field. Come on.
As Xander Bogaerts might have just homered off of,
Sick.
5-3, no outs.
All right, I'll take.
Hey, if you blindly swing at Mariano Rivera, you'll hit some home runs here and there. And not that Felix is quite Mariano Rivera, but Bogart's a good hitter. 5-3. We'll see what happens. So
yeah, I think Bogart's had
It was a 386-foot home run to center in Williamsport.
No, that was Frankie that had the solo homer earlier. But yeah.
No, there was another one that was just hit.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. I was going to say I thought Bogarts had a solo earlier, but it was Cordero.
Oh, right. Yes, it was. So things getting interesting there as Trace Unitas just continues to really hash out. But anyway, so what I was going to say is Kyler Murray calls a play. It ends up being a fade to Andy Isabella, and you see his eyes are completely lit up. He's leaning to see the result of the play. He's engaged. So I think this is just a fun full circle of Cliff basically handing the sticks to Kyler in a preseason game to keep him engaged. He's like, all right, let's let you play, buddy, and we'll keep you engaged that way.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. I'd be interested to see what that would look like with Lamar, especially with all the Roman stuff, and then how you talk about how complicated Roman's playbook can be. I would like to not only see that, I would like to have him mic'd up for that and see what him calling plays would look like, and just getting a feel for game flow. I just feel that would be, if not
good content, good quality content.
Yeah, exactly. It would be good comedy, good content, and who knows? Maybe he'd be good at it.
Most certainly. And this is my like other big brain thought, and I have not even toked at all tonight, but I know that like surgeons use Xbox controllers and do like surgery simulators, like doing all that kind of stuff. Like, why not make film study interactive into a Madden? Why not like, get your own little team, then get your own little playbook in there, and
Bridgewater. I remember when Teddy Bridgewater got drafted, he was like, "Yeah, like the Vikings like came to me and like I told them I love Madden. They're like, all right, well, we have our playbook on Madden. We're going to give it to you, and you can like kind of half study, half play Madden. So maybe teams are doing it more than we realize.
That's what they should be doing. That's awesome. That's cool. Very modern. I like that a lot. So with that, we have Adam Jones in here, the 5-time Gold Glover. Spenny, can you describe what you see for Likely and Andrews and how they'll be used? I imagine it might be better than Hurst and Mark. Yeah, I mean, it looks like he is going to be just smoother with it than Hurst, and a little bit more urgent as well to get to a spot or to turn his head around and make himself available, I think. But it's just going to be having another guy that's a big slot that can win matchups. He's probably going to try to body corners and angle out DBs. And, we saw him separate on that long catch and run by using a little stiff arm to separate with that maybe does get called for an OPI sometimes, but they never call OPI. So do it every single time. I can't remember which PFF guy it is. I think it's Ian. He says, always like #always commit OPI, like always commit OPI. So yeah, he's going to be in this
the best PFF guy.
What'd you say?
Ian is like far and away the best PFF guy that people don't talk about enough.
Yes, and he is one of the best on football Twitter in general, like borderline Mount Rushmore of just being good at football Twitter.
Yeah,
and if not just straight up Mount Rushmore.
Have to shout him out. He's GOAT status.
He definitely is. Ian Harrods on I think it's PFF Ian. But yeah, likely they're going to ask him to do everything, man. He's going to be everywhere. They want the ball in his hands. He looks very sharp after the catch in terms of being able to make guys miss, and he looks sharp understanding where the sticks are, both with the football in his hands and when he is running to go convert a first down. So I think he's going to be a chain mover. I really don't want, it's just tough not to think of really big name guys when you're talking about like aesthetic comparisons and stuff like that. He runs after the catch very similar to Travis Kelce. The way he has like a forward lean and stays low and just kind of is deceptively quick and strong despite like a frame that doesn't look super imposing, at least off of TV. Like he likes to cut back against the grain like Kelce. Yeah, like he's like slow, but also fast. It's weird to watch.
The long catch and run. Yeah, that reminded me of, I put this on Twitter and I think somebody else tweeted at me too. So credit to whoever that was. It reminded me of Ed Dixon at Oregon. Like just fucking like oily hips, just like cutting back into the center of the field and just making plays with the ball in his hands. I mean, I don't even know like if that's what I expected with him necessarily. I expected maybe a little bit more of a utility guy as the Cardinals score a touchdown there, but
Tracy Knight is diving for 6. What a legend.
Yeah, he's played well tonight. I don't know what's going on with the score line, but he's looked good. And yeah, he really
that pick he threw to Pepe Williams, not taking anything away from Pepe. Pepe was in perfect place, made a perfect read. The receiver definitely was supposed to come back to that ball a little bit too.
Yeah, I'm also not sure if that's going to be a touchdown ultimately.
He smacked the pylon with his offhand.
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's take another look at that. But yeah, so there's that. Orioles get the W.
He smacked the pylon. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean that's the way to sell it. If you're gonna like sell a fake touchdown, then you bring that pylon down with you, and that's the ultimate giveaway. But
Josh Ross hitting him out.
Decent game for Josh Ross, who looks good.
Great game for Josh Ross.
I didn't really notice him as much last week as you guys did, but yeah, he's looking good with that 46. He's got the pads kind of pumped up a little bit. He's looking like a real pro inside linebacker. I'm interested to see what happens with him.
As I read a tweet, is Josh Ross the best inside linebacker on the Ravens lot roster?
You know those takes are probably out there right now.
Well, I'm reading it. I'm reading it here, so those exist. But ultimately, great game for him. Dafe Owe looked pretty sharp. Travis Jones looked sharp. I don't know. I mean,
I guess Dafe Owe was the big starter that got in for a couple plays because I did notice him right away with that 99. And yeah, he did look actually pretty sharp there. And that's always good to see. It's nice to see starters get some run in preseason. I know people freak out about it and everything, and understandably so, but it's just good. You watch guys knock the rust off a little bit. It's okay to have them in there for a sequence, I think.
It definitely is. I don't know. One guy can go down at any time, no matter how many snaps they play, and then it's all, J.K. Dobbins last year is the example of that. So it is what it is, but hopefully they make it out of here pretty healthy. They get the call taken back. So 24-3 Ravens on the 1-inch line. Trace puts his helmet back on, these sick black Cardinals helmets. I'm very happy that we're finally starting to tweak with helmet afflictions and having some juice, put it back into the uniform aesthetic and messing with the lids. It's been too long since teams.
I don't know why there was a rule against that. Like the helmet is like really the coolest part if you mess with that a little bit, as Trace does score on this one. The helmet can be the coolest part. Like look at the the Path of Patriot helmet. That's like GOAT shit. Like that's amazing. Like they need to do more stuff like that if and when available. These are okay. I think a lot of people, you included, like them a lot. I do too. I think it is kind of weird. It seems like a little bit of a different tone than the uniform, which is maybe hard to nail, like helmet to uniform exact coloring. Maybe you would have to do like a matte as opposed to like the gloss that they're doing. But yeah, they look pretty good, I think.
I think but you hit it on the head. The gloss versus the matte of the jersey doesn't quite hit right, but I still like it. I just like playing around with the helmets in general. I'm happy about that. Yeah,
that should have happened a lot earlier. I think, but it's happening now. I mean, like people complain about the Ravens uniforms all the time. I'd be curious to see if they get into that discussion a little bit, as somebody is down on the field here. I think it's Travis Jones, actually.
Great. Very glad as we're talking about it. So very glad he's playing deep into preseason, if that's the case. Yep. And it's his left knee of a 330-pound man. There you go.
Well, I mean, we avoided one with Falele earlier in the game. He got back in after his injury, like you mentioned, and played pretty well. So hopefully, prayers up, prayer circle for Travis Jones there, summoning circle to make sure that he's okay. But yeah, I mean, there's, a lot of good things to touch on tonight. That's for sure.
Well, that's a real stinking bummer, and kind of puts a dark cloud over anything good that happened.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, that is really tough to have that happen like on air. I mean, that's got to be worse than Steve Young having a rant on air last week that sends you into a complete tailspin.
Yep.
Don C. Spencer, great job on 105.7. How did that go, by the way? I didn't get to listen in.
It went well. Just basically the same thing with less cuss words. So same rant, less cuss words. I dropped a Flubber reference about Matt LaFleur, which I low-key do on this podcast about Roman's offense.
We haven't done Flubber in a long time. I've kind of missed that.
Yeah, we'll talk more Robin Williams. This season, this is going to be the Baltimore Ravens season of Robin Williams analogies for the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. I'll put it that way. This season's dedicated to Robin Williams. Rest in peace several years ago, but hey, why not?
You remember where you were for that? I remember exactly where I was.
I think I was just like at home on my couch.
I was on a train to an Orioles game. Already probably pretty drunk. We had brought like rum and Coke, like in the, you pour it into the Coke bottle. I was probably like 19, 20 at the time. I think it was the game that Manny got injured in 2014. I was at that, just like hammered in the upper deck with my friends, and Robin Williams died on the train ride over. And there was some interesting characters that were around us that we were discussing it with. And yeah, just a viral moment. I had another friend who was actually in a restaurant in Milwaukee, and he told the waiter about it. And apparently the waiter looked like he was going to cry after he told him. So
I love Robin Williams. Big Robin Williams guy. Good Will Hunting. Travis Jones walking into the tent. Thank the Lord for that. So maybe go ahead and get Isaiah Likely and Kyle Hamilton and all those guys out of there and kind of minimize that next week. We're in the preseason. We're talking preseason. Just over the course of Harbaugh's tenure, going from the gradient they used to have it was like starters played a series, then it was 4 games, a series, then a quarter in week 2, and then a half in week 3, and then rested in week 4, something like that.
Yeah, Flacco would play well into the second half in week 3.
You'd play a half.
Yeah, like it was kind of wild, like how seriously that they would take, and not even like take it seriously, but that's just kind of what teams did. Hey, my DMs are open and I can be bought. Let's just say that.
We most certainly can.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, he would definitely take guys deep into it. But I think it really is just kind of changing around the league. Like I think a lot of teams actually used to do that. I think people would be surprised to look back and see, but I think, yeah, starters would just play into preseason more, and seems to be going away now as the preseason's going away. They've already eliminated a game, so it kind of like makes it, all right, first game is a little bit of a tune-up, second game is sort of your dress rehearsal, third game is whatever, and then you have a bye week, which I think makes sense, but it definitely is different than it used to be.
It is different than it used to be. So I don't know. Now it's a little more hodgepodge. Seems like Harbs is doing the old dad thing where he's got his youngest kid now still in the house, and it's like, hey, do you want to play? Okay, then you can play. Instead of, it's the early Harbaugh felt like it was the oldest and has the most responsibility on their shoulders and has to go through the whole spiel of growing up that way. And then the youngest, which I was, and you were too, kind of a little more laissez-faire, a little more, do you want to do this, Spencer? Jake, do you want to get in there? So it seems like that's been the approach to a degree, aside from the rookies who are playing a ton and obviously, UDFA guys and stuff. Yeah, Nick Boyle played a bunch. I feel like, I'm going to go ahead and make an ass out of you and me and say, I feel like that means Nick probably wanted to play a little more. And maybe the idea was, hey, let's go through a whole game, make sure you're past everything. Let's see what it's like soreness and recovery wise after putting a little bit more stress on the body, getting back into that callousing and stuff. And I mean, Nick Boyle is the definition of a man's man. So he's probably, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll play.
Yeah, he also, you talked about like the idea that he's like tuning himself back up. I mean, he hasn't played a ton of football the last couple of years as Anthony Brown gets picked off there. He hasn't played a ton the last couple of years, and he's really probably going to be banking on the season. I mean, look at the guy behind him on the depth chart. Ostensibly, just had a massive night. They drafted another tight end in the very same round who's pretty promising. Like he's probably looking at this as not a make or break season, but if he wants to get another contract, he probably wants to play pretty well. So every opportunity he can get, he seems like the guy to me that's going to go full throttle. So
100%. So I think we had something in the comments, something somewhere, maybe it was on Twitter, but it's basically saying, like what happens with Charlie Kohler? Well, nothing. They're just going to use a lot of these guys and have 5 wide receivers and probably scrub somewhere else defensively. I just, again, what we've seen from Likely tonight, what we've seen from him throughout, and knowing Mark Andrews exists, Rashad Bateman exists, Prochet and Duvernay, they're going to rely on a bit. And if Kohler can come in and make any semblance of adequate pass catching play, being able to be another guy that you can toy with matchups, and if you're able to really actually use 13 personnel and some 3 tight end sets and go deploy those guys, as we see Trace, that's not Trace anymore.
No, he got taken out.
But ultimately, those guys are all going to get on the roster. How do you get Boyle, Pat, and Mark all on the field? Adam Jones saying here. I mean, Mark can play out wide. He can play in the slot. Last year, he spent more time outside or in the slot than he did as a tight end. And then you put Boyle at tight end, and Pat Ricard can be a tight end or a fullback, or that F that comes in motion and you run off of and have him, do some little decoy stuff for you ultimately. So I don't know. Injuries also tend to happen in this sport, as we know very well from last year. So that'll probably figure some things out a little bit. As Josh Richter says here in the comments, they just will. Yeah. They're going to get them all involved.
Yeah, you have too many good football players at a position. It's like not really a bad problem to have, right? Like you'll figure it out. And, people were talking actually a little bit about like this idea of Likely playing wide receiver. And I was like, all right, let's not get too cute. Let's not play guys out of position just because we don't have depth at another position. Like I just always thought that was kind of stupid. Like the idea of like, oh, well, we're just going to trade Anquan Bolden and Dennis Pitta is going to be our Anquan Bolden. Well, then who the is supposed to be Dennis Pitta, right? Like that always annoyed me, but it's not really the same situation with Likely here as a Cardinals score. It's not really the same situation. And looks like he's
Jared Garantano. Wow.
Yeah. It looks like he's going to get opportunities at wide receiver. He got a couple tonight, lining up out wider in the slot at the very least. And he's going to be a chess piece for them big time. And he is going to help with their wide receiver woes. I will admit I was concerned, but it seems like he definitely could be one of those guys.
Most certainly. We see Mark Andrews here rocking the Wild Dog Lamar chain, and the streak is in jeopardy now. Cardinals trying to come back and get this one. So it's going to be on good old Tony Brown to come in and make some plays. Mark Andrews forcibly dapping up the sideline reporter.
I think it's Tom Rinaldi.
It is Tom Rinaldi.
That's kind of funny.
Made him go knuckles and then a handshake. Just absolutely alphaing. We got a little clip, I think, that Ramey got in front of my eyes today where he said, Mark Andrews, or it was a clip of the NFL top 100. Mark Andrews comes in at 32nd on that list, and Mark Andrews lining up against one of the Bengals' younger safeties, I think it was, and he says, watch this, young blood, at the line of scrimmage, which is just hilarious.
That was good, and it made me realize I haven't watched enough of like the Sound FX mic'd up stuff in the last couple of years, because that is always cool to see. It's like guys don't always say a ton. It's a lot of just like lining up against a dude and grunting 5 times and then like saying nice rep or whatever. But sometimes you get a gem like that, even if it is a less is more one like that is. But yeah, that's cool to see. And I need to go and watch those, the videos that they post of them. Not as dialed into it this year as usual. I mean, I'm not even usually like that dialed into it, but I usually have watched them by the time they're out. So I'll make some time to watch Lamar coming in at, I think, 36 and then Mark at 32. I watched the Tucker one already, so we'll check them out when we get a chance.
There we go. But with that, I mean, what else? Again, just Josh Ross stood out to me a ton in the second half here. Mekhi Polk looked really quick. Riley Webb making some plays too. Both of those guys fighting around a little bit.
Yeah,
Mark Bridges, I don't know. I think he got one target, and it was just like an awful throw, and it looked like he might have gotten kind of controlled over top anyway. Someone I thought that would have a really strong chance just based on the measurables and the kind of movements he was making on the football field last week, and curious to go see what the tape had. Saw him bust off a couple nasty slants. We see Kyler Murray, Hollywood, Trace, and DeAndre Hopkins yucking it up on the sideline. What a collection. Then the camera immediately goes to Isaiah Likely. Yeah,
it's interesting. I think that the lack of, I guess, production from Shamar Bridges is interesting. It kind of, it makes you wonder, like, have they already kind of made up their mind with him after that big opening week game and the fact that he has some good traits? I'm not really
Travis
sure.
Jones is back on the field.
Good. Okay. Well,
according to Bruce Cunningham, and the Ravens are on offense now.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good that he's on the field. I think it's maybe time to call it a night for him. There's 6 minutes left in the game.
I don't know why he would be on. Is Bruce doing some weird? What did Bruce tweet a long time ago? I can't.
The mouthful of ass.
Yeah, Harbaugh is going to get himself a mouthful of ass in this locker room at halftime.
More than most things I've seen. Yeah, that was really good though. And he and then I like the follow-up tweet where he like clarified it. He's like, "Oh, well, that's just something we said back in the day about like shooing guys out." I'm like, listen, that's no judgment on my end. Bruce Cunningham, a true legend, but that was quite a humor.
It's just phrases that are between different I don't know how to put it, but different phrases for different generations. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. I think there is a generational gap there. You get Shamar Bridges getting involved there, picking up a first down, it looks like. But yeah, there's a generational gap with some of these phrases. And I don't know, maybe it'll come full circle one day. Maybe we'll work that back into the lexicon for some of these young Baltimore sports guys that are coming up after us at some point. Maybe
we'll be boomers eventually at some point. We won't be the real boomers, but we'll be a boomer called something else. Shamar Bridges, nice little speed out there. The receivers making some plays tonight. Mekhi Polk, Shamar Bridges. We got Ben Mason, Tyler Beatty. This is the gritty stuff, man. Up a touchdown, 22-game streak on the line. John Harbaugh's entire legacy before you.
This is how deep they are. Oh shit, that wasn't good. This is how deep they are, though. I mean, like Beatty's gonna make the team, and he's making plays like late into this game. Bridges might make the team. There he is making that catch. I mean, it's a decent little run here. Is that Zach Ertz?
On the sideline, yeah, I would assume. I'm slightly behind because I have my Xfinity stream app up here, but yeah, it's always been deep. Ben Cleveland's still in this game. Zach Ertz looking pretty mellowed out. He doesn't have the sunshine blonde hair this time, which doesn't put me on edge as much. Our girl Erin Andrews with a textbook mic hold there. Just look at that stare. She just is a true professional, consummate professional.
She is good. I think she's one of the better sideline reporters in the game. I'm probably partial to Amanda Balionis for a couple of different reasons, but yeah, Erin Andrews obviously always gets it done.
Well, at this point, just kind of waiting to see what ends up happening here. Again, want to see guys like Bridges make plays late in games, see who of these receivers can get a little something done as the Ravens now going into 3rd and 15. Cardinals possibly get the ball back, and Cliff Kingsbury can add one to his legacy if he's able to snake this streak out from under Harbaugh. I've got a bold prediction. I think we see the Cardinals with a 2-point conversion attempt at a win, and I think that they get it.
That's interesting. I mean, the clock management is going to be interesting too. It's 4 minutes and 40 left with a 3rd and 15. If they don't pick this up, they'll have about, 440, 435, something like that, as they don't get the playoff there. Yeah, it looks like they're just going to take the delay of game. We'll see what happens with the punt god. Everyone calls Jordan Stout the punt god here, so we'll see what happens with him potentially making a play. It would be nice if I could hear this Zach Ertz interview and break down what he's saying, but I can't, so that's okay.
Well, ultimately, I don't know. Not much else. We'll see what happens. I don't know what else we'll have to cover, but yeah. Do you want to stay and watch the rest of this, or do you want to just call it there? Let's call it here. Let's call it here, and we can come back fresh and break it down a little further later in the week.
Yeah. Okay. So we're closing.
We'll leave the mystery up to you guys, and we'll come back a little smarter and sharper with less dead air.
Yeah, exactly. No need for a ton of dead air, any of that nonsense. But we'll close this out without knowing if the streak remains alive or dead. So there's a little bit of intrigue to this episode, a little bit of a, it's a cliffhanger. It's like the Sopranos ending. You're gonna have to look up what happened. I'm sure you won't know.
You won't know one bit.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit meta on you, but thank you guys for listening. Thank you for bearing with us in this recording with 2 different games on that we're watching and closing it out a little bit early, obviously, here on a Sunday night. But, it's preseason, kind of whatever. Don't really care about the result. So we were happy to just kind of hop in here, get our takes in, and then get ready to watch some Thrones potentially. Maybe just kind of hit the hay. We'll see what happens. But
we're gonna be doing recaps of Thrones as well, of House of Targaryen. We're getting started tonight, so we're gonna have to put a little segment in for, let's call it 120-second recap of House of Targaryen weekly here.
We can do more than that. We just have to put it at the end of the show. I have heard, I shouldn't say I've seen one review that was kind of mixed. So interested to see.
A good buddy of mine works for Discovery. Got to see it. They had a whole premiere for it, I think like Thursday night at their facility there in Manhattan. And he said he was quite pleased. Everybody thought it was really good. So we can get on into that and break that down. So I guess that'll be Tuesday. We'll be getting into House of Targaryen a little bit, finishing off what happens in this preseason game and coming live at you again.
Yeah, definitely. And previewing that big 3rd preseason game. That's a total blowout. Everyone's going to be super dialed into that one. So got to be ready for that. But in the meantime, follow us on social media. You can follow the show at Podcast Beatdown. I am at Jake Luke. That's LOUQUE. Spencer's at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4. Thank you guys for listening here in this little live early recap situation. We'll talk to you again very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.
Where is the wise man? Where is the scholar? Where is the philosopher of this age? Get down! Baltimore!
What are they getting? Everything out of me. They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that. Believe that.